Hello, Karina Antonopoulos here with the Center for Highly Sensitive People. Welcome back to our series called 14 Days to What I Want. Today we are on day 3, and today's question asks you, what do I not want? Okay, what do I not want? Capital N-O-T. So for any of you who have done any sort of reading on like law of attraction stuff, they always say like, focus on what you want. Don't focus on what you don't want, right? But the truth is, if you actually keep reading those books and you kind of read between the lines, you start to learn that it's going to be really impossible to acknowledge what you do want and focus on what you do want if you, in the back of your head, are thinking about or have your mind on the elephant in the room, which is the thing that you don't want. So just like a little child who's trying to get your attention, the more you try to ignore it, the bigger it's going to get. So it's really important to first acknowledge what it is that you do not want when it comes to getting clarity. A lot of times, like for me, sometimes when I'm answering these questions that I'm sharing with you in these series, the only thing that I'm writing down sometimes is what I don't want over and over and over again. The fact that you are putting words around these thoughts, these fearful thoughts, these concerning thoughts, it's better that they have words around them and that they're getting out of your head than them just swirling around in your mind. Okay, so make sure that you're not just doing these exercises in your head. I mean, I will say that I do these in my head now because of how many years I've been doing them. I even have in my mind, I have these questions kind of in categories, like buckets, right? So that's how I visualize a lot of these questions. So one of the buckets is the what I do not want bucket. And so if I am thinking about something, like if I'm about to get on a phone call, if I'm about to go into a meeting, if I'm about to have a conversation with my husband about something that's really hard, and I'm feeling anxious, I start to list all the things that I don't want to happen. Okay? This is so important because you are, like I said, you're a co-creator with the energy around you. I do believe, I know some people don't believe this, but I do believe that there is divine consciousness. I do believe that the energy around us is always looking to read our energy and then create things in physical form. I do believe their energy is always listening. And so if you find yourself getting into patterns where you are constantly continuing to get all the things that you do not want, whether it's work related or a relationship or something with your health, it's coming to you in patterns because the universe is like, oh, well, she's not saying anything about whether or not she wants this or not, so I'm just going to keep sending it to her. So acknowledging what you don't want, it's so important to tell the universe, like, universe, listen, energy, divine energy that surrounds me and that co-creates with me, my angels, my guides, okay, whoever you feel connected to co-create with, I do not want this, okay, I do not want this to happen. So, especially as a highly sensitive person, we think very deeply about things and we're very good at thinking about all the worst case scenarios, which can create anxiety. So sometimes even for me, I'll have a really bad thought. Like I'll have a bad thought when I'm driving where I'll get into a really bad accident or literally. So my mom rented a house for the next 2 weeks in New Jersey. So I'm at the house with her and her boyfriend, his family for the next couple weeks with my son. My husband will meet us next week. But grandma's like, my mom's like, oh, I'll go take your son for a walk. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to do my video. And of course, as I'm sitting here preparing for the video, he took a ball with him and I'm like, visualize, like just had this like fearful image of him throwing the ball nonchalantly into the road and him going chasing after it and then a car coming by and my mom not really paying attention and him like getting hurt. And oh my God, like these thoughts are crazy. Like they literally can give you anxiety, and it's really hard to live your life when you're constantly bombarded with thoughts like that. So this was a great example, because I'm like, today we're focusing on what we do not want. So in that moment, I acknowledge and I put that thought and that image into the bucket in my head of, okay, universe, okay, angels, all the angels who are here to protect my son, this is what I don't want to happen. Okay, this is what I don't want to happen. Thank you for giving me the idea, and thank you for giving me a possibility of what could happen, and this is what I don't want to happen. Okay, and I will say that as many times as I need to, so that I start to feel lighter about it, and I can then trust that they receive the message, and like, and then I say maybe a prayer like, please protect my son. Please make sure my mom is present and aware and conscious, and she's paying attention at all times. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about relationships. Okay, so a lot of times we fall into relationships with people because we're so compassionate, we're so understanding, we're so accepting as highly sensitive people, so empathetic, that we are in these relationships with people who take advantage of that. They know that they're doing crappy things and they're taking advantage of it. So if this is you, if you find yourself continuing to get into these types of relationships, this question is going to be so important for you, okay? But it's going to look in the form of, what are your deal breakers? Okay, so I know the question is very basic, what do you not want? But this question will help you get clear on what your deal breakers are. So I have deal breakers for friendships because I meet a lot of people, and it's something I'm very passionate about. I love meeting new people. And so I have my core people, my core females who are my friends, but the reason why they are my friends still all these years is because of one deal breaker that I have with friendships. And it's that I need to feel that I can be vulnerable with them if something, a really hard and challenging thing comes up, without them like breaking up with me as a friend or taking it personally or just really taking it the wrong way. Because I've had this happen many times, especially with like high school friends, where I was kind of bottling up all these things inside, and then one day it would just I'd be at my last limit, and I would just kind of like dump out all this stuff that was bothering me. And then that was the end of a lot of relationships. So you can call that burning bridges, right? You can call that burning bridges. Maybe I've burned a lot of bridges, but actually that was my way of trying to be vulnerable with people that I really cared about, to tell them like, this isn't okay. I can't do this. How can we do this differently? But I didn't know how. I didn't have those words. Maybe I came across in the wrong way. I don't know. All I know is that I even felt bad. Like maybe I said something that and I even wondered like, why am I not friends with this person anymore? And I know it's because I was trying to be vulnerable with them, and they just could not handle the honesty, the truth of what I was sharing. And maybe sometimes it was something that was like a trigger for me, and it was like this illusion that I was creating in the relationship. But then I want my friend to say to me, Karina, it's okay. Like I want them to show me what is true if it's an illusion. Okay, or if I am exposing something about them that's very vulnerable for me to share, that like, listen, every time we're in a group, like you tease me and you make fun of me. Like that happened a lot in high school, where like just like friends would just like I would be someone that they picked on because I was an easy person to pick on. Like I didn't adapt in every moment to every situation with friends. So like I was an easy target, and I definitely think I brought this up a couple times, and then it just everything got turned on me. And so those relationships got burned, and I feel sad about that. But it just taught me later on with other friendships that being vulnerable is a deal breaker for me, especially in relationships, especially in friendships. Obviously in my intimate relationship, I have to be willing to like not just call my husband out on things, but also be able to share something that I'm thinking or feeling, and not feel like the relationship's gonna end because I'm sharing that thing. Okay, that is so important. So getting clear on what you do not want. I didn't want to burn bridges, right? But I did want, right? So the knowing what you don't want will help you get clear on what you do want, okay? Knowing what you don't want will help you get clear on your deal breakers, so that if these red flags come up for you in these relationships, then you know I don't have to spend a lot more energy into those relationships. It just doesn't make sense. They don't deserve my energy. Okay, I have a lot of energy to give. I had a lot of love to give, but not everyone deserves your energy. And I say that very intentionally, because I would just give my energy to people who would kind of suck it up and they take advantage of it. So for me, I'm like recovering from that. So I have to be really discerning about who I really give my energy to consistently. And, you know, if I don't know those deal breakers, I would just keep repeating those patterns over and over again. The other good thing about this question today of what you do not want is that it helps me know that if I'm having fears about something, right? So fears sometimes are legitimate, right? Sometimes they're just like these, like my son getting hit by a car. Like, it's possible, but the chance of that happening is slim. Like, you know, there's not many cars that drive around here. Most people are walking. My mom, you know, she takes care of kids, so everything is fine. Is fine, but it's also like you have legitimate fears. Okay, so you do want to categorize those thoughts into like, this is what I don't want to happen. But if there is something that might be legitimate, something maybe with a relationship or with your business. So for example, something with my relationship is like, okay, I see this pattern keep coming up where I take the back seat. I stop saying what I want. I just keep focusing on what my husband wants. And it's like we're repeating this like past life. Like, I definitely was married to my husband in a past life, and in the past lives, he was very domineering, controlling. And so apparently in like one past life, we lived in like Atlantean times, and which was very brutal. I don't know if any you know about like those times, like you think like, oh, beautiful and so like magical and spiritual with crystals, whatever. Yeah, very barbaric. My husband killed me in that lifetime because I don't know what I did in that lifetime to deserve to be killed, but he killed me. And then in another lifetime, he was abusive to me apparently, and I left him. And I kind of had my own little village, my little cottage, and that was my own little space. So that was the lifetime that I kind of found my voice and I left the relationship. But now, like many, many lifetimes later, we're back together, and now we can have this relationship where we are equals, we are connected, we are learning together, we're patient with each other, we're vulnerable, but we still fall into this pattern where I take the back seat, I become submissive, and I'm just like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? I want to serve you. And as though I don't think like there's anything wrong with that. Like I want to be of service to you. You're my partner. It's only when you're neglecting yourself. That's when it's the problem. Okay. So look for patterns. Today's question is going to help, especially with patterns. So patterns are there for you so that you can start acknowledging the things that you don't want. Okay. So tell me in the comments, what are some patterns for you? What are some things that you need to get out? Again, get it out of your head, get it into the comments. Let me know what are some of these patterns for you. Tell me what it is that you do not want. Okay. And the one more thing I wanted to share about these fears is that having fears, like certain fears are legitimate and you can prepare for them, right? So like maybe I had a fear of like, starting this live series and, just something as simple as that, like something that I do all the time, but knowing that I have this fear of it going well, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to prepare 15, 20 minutes beforehand. I'm going to do some meditation. I'm going to do some journaling, journal out my thoughts so that I don't show up on camera and I'm like, crap, what do I talk about? Okay. So sometimes our fears help us prepare. All right, so let me look at the comments here. So Yara, hello. I know Jasmine is here, Andrea. So Yara says, how do you tap into your past lives? So interesting. Sorry to hear about those experiences. It's all good. Everything's learning experience. Being defensive all the time. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, yeah. Past life stuff. Just various ways I've tapped into past life stuff. So initially I had no experience with how to do that. So there was a couple different women who were, I don't know if you would call them like mediums or psychics or spiritual guides, but they did readings for me. So that's always a good way to start. And then as I became more skilled in understanding and connecting to my intuition, I've learned how to do a journeying. So you can call it shamanic journeying, but I just call it journeying. And you can call it, even there's like forms of like hypnosis where you go into a hypnotic state. We go into meditation. This is something I guide my clients through. And we connect in with either a past life, a future self, another version of you in this lifetime. You can connect in with your higher self, your guides, loved ones who have passed, okay? And we would take it step by step and we would let the journey unfurl. I love these sessions. If anyone wants to book one of these sessions with me, let me know. But yeah, so, oh, and I was actually going to do the series that I was doing, the workshop series on emotions. We were going to do that in one of the workshops. So I'm still planning to do 2 more workshops, and that would be one of them, to do journeying together. So, stay tuned for that. It'll probably happen like next month. All right. So that's past life stuff. Now, I actually prefer to focus on this present life. I don't, like, unless something is like really consistently like coming up for me, I'm like, what the heck is happening? Especially if it's a relationship. Like I had a relationship with a coach who I was with for many years, and it kind of felt like it didn't end well, and I had a lot of like loose ends, and it took me a long time to heal all the things from that relationship, and finally at the end I ended up seeing a girl who's a medium, and I was like, can you just tell me like what happened in a past life? And I just need some insight, because I just can't figure out like why this person seems to not like me, or whatever it is. And just having insight into that was like, oh, interesting. Okay. And it just helped provide some space where there was heaviness. And I even had a dream where I had a conversation with this person, and everything kind of dissipated, and I understood a little bit more about like why that heaviness was there. Yes, thanks for asking about past lives, Yara. I do like to go on little tangents sometimes, because I feel like people don't always know like the capacity of like what I can do with you when we're private in our private calls, but I think it's important to have some time to talk about these things. So Yara said one of her challenges is being defensive all the time. Okay, good. Being defensive. So sometimes I'll take a pattern and I'll break it down even more with this question of what do I not want? Okay, so this is where it's great to use your highly sensitive, deep thinking abilities. So when you write this question at the top of your page, you're going to write down not just the pattern, but you're going to write down everything that happens around that pattern. You're going to write down everything that happens to the other person, everything that happens to you, all the thoughts that go through your head. Okay, but so just because Yara did share, so if you guys share, I'm going to give you some coaching, okay? So what I know about defensiveness, which I call this like a secret truth, and this is something I share, this is a little insight I shared in one of my courses, Confrontation for Empaths, and we talk about defensiveness there, but basically we get defensive when a part of us knows that there's a sliver of a truth in what the other person is saying. So think about that, okay? And knowing that will hopefully, in the moment, allow you to slow down so that you're not reacting, but you're responding, okay? Because you're taking a moment, you're pausing. That pause is so important. That pause helps slow the conversation down so that you're not reacting, and you're not getting defensive, because you're like, I think there's a little bit of what they're saying is maybe true. And even me, like seeing people on the internet posting certain things, especially political things, I get so fired up sometimes, and I get really pissed off, and I get really defensive. But what I know is that I'm getting defensive because a part of me knows on a very subconscious level that what they're saying is partially true. Maybe their truth is not something that really exists in my world, or is that like it pertains to me, but it is something that is really real for that person, and I know that it's true, but I'm trying to find all the reasons why it's not true. That's why we get defensive, okay? Sucks to acknowledge this, but yes, sometimes. Yes, I know. But that's the thing, is expanding your awareness. Instead of looking out through like a little peephole, we want to expand our awareness. And that's one of the gifts that I give my clients with our coaching work, is instead of looking out through a little peephole of life, expanding it, seeing a bigger picture so that you're responding to life more intentionally. All right. So I'm going to tie up today's video for today. Focus. Yes, I want you to focus on what you don't want. Write it all down, or put it in the bucket in your head anytime a negative thought pops up, and say it over and over. And I really do. I like to say, and I like to imagine myself like handing it over like a gift, like this bucket. Like I put all these thoughts into the bucket, and I say, here, universe, here, angels, please transmute this energy. Please take care of this. And then tell me what my next step is around this, right? Because there's a lot of things that we don't have control over, that we really can't fix or control or do anything about. But if we take a moment to surrender it over and instead of trying to fix it or control it, then we can create space, that clarity on like what the actual action step is that you are able to take. That is something that you can do, okay? So hand over the things that you cannot control, the things that you do not want, over to something greater than you, okay? Whatever you believe in. If you don't believe in anything, I am sorry. I don't know how to approach that conversation, especially in this little video. We're not here to have that conversation. I believe there's something greater, and it really helps me in my mental health to do that, and it's worked for me. So I recommend you guys experiment with that, just surrendering over the things that you don't want over to something greater than you. And after this video, take a few moments to think about what your patterns are, what you don't want, what you want to surrender over. Let me know, what that is for you guys. All right. Thank you for joining me. Day 3. If you're watching this from YouTube, come over to the Center for Highly Sensitive People Facebook group, and I will see you guys tomorrow. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.